So, I'm about to start my fourth semester of law school in 10 days. And I was thinking about what I have learned from the last three semesters that I have been in college. And I thought I should film this because a lot of the things that I realized are things that I realized before and then forgot later. So, I think this is a good exercise in trying to remember what I learned before.
In the sense that I can look back at this later and realize what I already had realized.
This is a very complicated explanation for a very simple thing that I'm going to do. I don't know why I started with this very complicated explanation. Anyways, basically, I took down some notes. I want to talk about what I have learned before, as in what are the things that I saw a problem, I came up with a solution, and it got fixed. Then I want to talk about things that I have seen a problem and I have a solution, but I haven't fixed yet. So these are problems that are existing right now. And then I want to talk about ways to solve those problems. So, in my first semester of college that I joined, I was just winging it. I mean, I think that's what everyone is doing. It's your first time being in a college. So, I think it is very, it's like the default option to wing things. I was mostly just doing honestly whatever I wanted to. If I liked something, I did it. If I didn't like it, I left it. And I think the biggest issue with this was I don't remember things. If I signed up for something and I never really followed up with it, I would just forget that it was going to happen and I'd miss the event or I'd miss the deadline, whatever the issue was. The biggest help and the most important thing that I think I have done in the first semester is to have a Google Calendar, which I have logged in on my phone as well as on my laptop, so that I can add things on there and especially integrate it. I think it's already integrated, but I don't know if it is. Mine, I don't remember if I ever did it or if it just always was like this, but use Google Tasks with the Google Calendar because it is genuinely one of the most helpful things ever. If I need to make a to-do list, I make it. It's on my Google Calendar. I can access it from there. If I need to figure out when my exams are, it's on my Google Calendar. If I need to know what class I have right now, it's on my Google Calendar. If I need a deadline, it's on my Google Calendar. So because of that, I have probably increased my efficiency by a lot. I have been really, really organized. And I think it's all thanks to having a functioning Google Calendar. Yeah. I did for a brief period try to have a physical calendar. I had like a notebook in which I had columns for every week and all that. And I would say that it might work for you. It didn't for me because I cannot always have a notebook on hand. Sometimes I'm just going on a walk around campus and I realize, oh, this thing is happening. Or I see a poster, I'm like, I want to go to that. Or someone tells me something, or I see a message, or I see an email on the stroll around campus. I will forget, but I might get back. I need to write it in a notebook. So I just prefer having it on hand at all times. So having it on my phone really does help. Okay, moving on to the second problem. I think this is a more tangential problem. I don't think I have necessarily actively felt the effects of this, but I know that they exist because when it isn't a problem, then I don't have a lot of these effects from it. You will understand what I mean when I tell you what the problem is. The problem is having an irregular sleep schedule. Before I joined college, I had a very irregular sleep schedule. I would sleep at 10:30 every night and I would wake up at like 7 every single day. Now, that is a very ambitious schedule to have at campus because it is impossible to go to bed at 10. There is always something happening. I think the amount of times I have asked someone what time a meeting is and they tell me it's 10 p.m. is genuinely crazy. Because before joining college, I always thought, okay, the latest something could be is like at 6. But now a lot of my classes end at 5:30. And if my class is ending at 5:30, the only time that I have is after that. So things easily drag on until like 11 in the night, 12 in the night, sometimes even after that. Like, especially when we have events, easily after 12 as well. So it is difficult to have a functioning sleep schedule in college. I understand that. But what has genuinely helped me a lot is, even if it's not the most ideal sleep schedule, at least have something that is regular. So what worked for me is, usually I'd sleep at 12 and then I'd wake up at 8. The reason this works for me is because my classes start at 9. So I have time to get up and eat breakfast before I go to class, which, to be fair, I don't usually eat breakfast in college. I should, I know, but I sometimes, mostly I don't. But it has been a lot better when I wake up early rather than just waking up right before class, because it gives me time to ease into getting ready for class. Like, I am not still groggy when I show up to class. I'm ready to learn a lot more when I sleep well. So, yeah, I think that wraps up the section for what I have learned before, which, now that I think about it, is actually barely anything. Now, let's move on to my issues that I have right now, which I have not implemented a solution for. So, these are obviously issues that I have faced in my last semester, which was my third semester. And the biggest one of these is preparing for an exam. I think I have a very unique perspective on this, because I am of the opinion that the fact that my college changed the exam pattern from having offline exams to online exams the day of exams, they did postpone it by a few days, but the day I was supposed to go and write an exam, they told us that the exams were going to be postponed as well as online, was a bad idea for me. Because when I was preparing for exams, I prepared assuming they were going to be offline. And what that comes with is preparing a lot of facts. And that is not the same as writing an online exam where you have access to the facts. Now, okay, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to cheat, but it is a lot easier for people to cheat in an online exam. And when the exam grades are comparative, as in your grade is decided by what everyone else gets generally, it does affect the grade that you get, even if you write the same paper online and offline. If it is online, the bar for a good paper does go higher up, right? That really changed my perspective on how I should be preparing for an exam. And I think what I learned is that I need to be ready for absolutely anything. At any point, the format can change, the type of questions can change, the way of giving the exam, literally anything can change at any point. And I think what I really need to do in the coming semester is start learning things as soon as I can and in as much detail as I can, so that one, I'm not burdened right before the exams, and two, so that I'm ready for any potential change that might happen last minute. Now, finally, I want to move on to the second point in things that I learned last semester. Now, this is again very specific to me. I don't know if this applies generally, but it is about having an iPad. So, I have an iPad. Wait. So, this is my iPad. Ignore default cover screen. I don't want to change it. I have an Apple Pencil. And for the last semester, in every class that I was allowed to have devices out in, I took notes on this. I use an app called Free Notes, which is a pretty good notes app, honestly. And I took very detailed notes. I spent a long time in class writing all of those notes, and I think my mistake was assuming that I would learn from that, because when I write something on a physical piece of paper, not only do I learn better from it, but also when I have a physical notebook, I do tend to go back and look at it a lot more than I would on my iPad. I think something about having it exist physically helps me remember exactly what I wrote. I think it's similar to, when you are giving an exam and you know exactly where the answer is, but you cannot think of what the answer is. Like that. I guess something similar where because I know exactly where I wrote it, on what page and everything, that probably adds one more vector to my memory of that fact. And I think that is something that doesn't apply on an iPad, because on that every page looks exactly the same. When I brought this point up to talk to other people about it, they were talking about how writing something with your hand physically probably has like a hand mind connection to help you remember it better. I don't think that's true, because I mean, when I'm writing on this with a pen, I am using my hand and writing it just as I would on a piece of paper. So I, for some reason, find it difficult to believe that it is the hand mind connection that helps me remember it better when I write on a piece of paper. I guess the solution to this is me using physical notebooks to take notes in classes, which is what I'm going to do in my upcoming semester. Which reminds me, I do need to go buy a lot of notebooks and a few other supplies for my new semester of college, for which I might make a haul. I actually don't know. But if you want to know if I'm making a haul, you can follow me somewhere. I don't know how I'm gonna flip this video. It's gonna be somewhere here, 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 here. Bye bye. So what I'm saying is I've learned nothing.